The location Cyprus for emigrating explained in 5 points. Everything you need to know about Cyprus in a nutshell before you consider emigrating there, you'll find out in this video. Hello and welcome. My name is Florian Wilk. I have been the Managing Director of CMC in Larnaca, Cyprus for 15 years now. And we support companies and families in getting established in Cyprus, assist with immigration to Cyprus, tax setup, all legal issues, of course also with company formation, ongoing accounting, the non-dom status and so on, and act as a comprehensive German-speaking point of contact. And now I would like to share with you what I see as the 5 most crucial points if you are thinking about and facing the decision to emigrate to Cyprus, or perhaps deciding whether it will be Cyprus or another location. Here are the absolutely essential points that you should definitely take into consideration. The first point is quality of life. Extremely, extremely important. Cyprus is, of course, part of Europe, even though geographically it actually isn't anymore. That means you have a European standard of living. It starts, of course, with the mentality of the people. Then, of course, it continues with safety, which is also a major topic. There has never been a terrorist attack in Cyprus. There has never been anything like that here. It is also a very, very safe island in everyday life. This is also an important point, especially nowadays, the infrastructure. The internet is extremely good. You have at least 200 megabits. That is absolutely standard almost everywhere on the island. And in general, you simply have this European standard of living. Even when it comes to cuisine, you have an extremely large selection of great restaurants. From taverns to fine dining restaurants, every type of cuisine you can imagine. Indian, Mexican, Italian, and so on and so forth. So really a wonderful European standard of living. That is a very, very important point. The second point, of course, which I'm listing as a separate point, is the weather. You simply have a wonderful, pleasant climate. That means, generally speaking, we have 300 to 320 days of sunshine a year. That means endless sunshine. So there are actually relatively few rainy days. And when it does rain, it's mainly in January, February, or March. Sometimes it can happen that it rains for 3 or 4 days in a row. Of course, there is winter in Cyprus as well. But overall, the weather is extremely pleasant, unless you really don't like hot weather at all. Because July and August in particular are 2 very, very hot months that you might want to avoid if you say that heat really isn't your thing, since temperatures can reach 37, 38, or even 40 degrees on peak days. We've experienced that already. I think you get used to it. A lot of people actually prefer the heat to being cold. That's how it is for me personally too. But if you're someone who really can't handle it, then maybe Cyprus isn't the right place for you, or at least not during the hot summer months. Then the third point, taxes. Of course, for many people, this is also a main motivation for coming to Cyprus alongside the other points. In terms of taxes, to put it simply, on a personal level, I can often set things up so that I pay no income tax or only a small amount because I channel a lot through my company. That means the company pays between 2.5 and 12.5% corporate tax. That's the range we're talking about. Depending on the type of business, it's between 2.5 and 12.5%. And then, as a shareholder, as a non-dom in Cyprus, that is with this special tax status, I can pay myself. And it's always important to say it works. That's really important. It works. We have a 100% success rate. With this status, I can then distribute it to myself. As a shareholder, I don't pay any taxes on this profit distribution, just a small health contribution of 2.65%. So it's really just symbolic. So you have very, very low corporate taxes and almost zero taxes on a personal level if you structure it correctly. And of course, it's always important that you get good, reputable advice and not, let's say, act too hastily. Choose some structure that in the end doesn't work at all or results in too high a tax burden. Then the fourth important point you should know if you want to emigrate to Cyprus or are considering it is accessibility. Cyprus is only 3.5 hours away from Central Europe, especially Germany and Austria. So you can get to the island very, very easily. In winter, the flight connections are a bit worse than in summer. Of course, that's because the island is less visited in winter. In summer, you can usually get here very, very easily with many direct flights to the most important destinations. From German and Austrian airports to Vienna, there are several flights daily. But there are also occasional direct flights to Salzburg and Graz. And towards Germany, you usually have direct flights to Munich, Frankfurt, but also Berlin and Hamburg, especially in summer. So the connections are generally very, very good. If necessary, you just have a stopover either in Vienna or in Athens or Munich. So even in that case, you can always, I think you can live with the fact that you might have to accept at most one stopover. And 3.5 hours of flight time on a direct flight is, I think, absolutely fine. And that's really, really important, this accessibility. What good is it to you if you emigrate to another country? And then something happens in Germany, you need to get to an appointment or deal with a personal matter quickly, and you actually end up, this happens often, traveling for 24 hours because you're on some island in the Caribbean or something like that. And then, of course, the fifth and final point, the hurdle, as I call it, to emigrating. How high is this hurdle? How easy or difficult will it be for me? And I have to say, in my opinion, this hurdle is extremely low in Cyprus. Cyprus makes it very, very easy to emigrate. This is partly because 80% of the people speak English. So English is widely spoken, and of course that makes communication very, very easy. Then you have the advantage that there is a growing German-speaking community, but not to the extent that you feel like everything is overrun by Germans here. And it doesn't feel at all like a separate island anymore. So it's still Cyprus, but you do have these German-speaking communities and you can connect well with others, people, families, also for the children, and so on. So it's really great when you have that kind of connection. Not only that, but also this German-speaking aspect. I think that makes it very, very pleasant as well. Then there's also the hospitality of the Cypriots. The Cypriots are very open, very hospitable, very warm, honest people. That's also very important, that you feel comfortable, that you can also trust the locals, so to speak. Also, the standard of living. You have great properties to choose from. There are locations that have their own appeal, but you can't find an apartment or a house there, or at least not at a reasonably fair price. I don't want to speak badly about other locations, so I won't give any examples, but that's often the case. In Cyprus, you can easily rent an apartment, for example, a 3-room apartment in Larnaca for 1,200 euros a month. Fully furnished with kitchen appliances, with air conditioning, so you can move in right away. And you don't need a lot of paperwork like references from previous landlords or proof of income or anything like that. That's usually not required at all, so it's even easier, extremely unbureaucratic. You can choose a real estate agent. I'm also happy to recommend someone to you if you like, who will show you around. 3, 4, 5 properties that fit exactly what you're looking for, that match your preferences, so to speak. And then you just pick the best one. You're spoiled for choice. So these are all points where I would say, as I mentioned, the barrier is extremely low. Cyprus makes it very, very easy for you to actually move to the country or this island. And from my point of view, an important and good step if you're considering moving to Cyprus is simply to take a look for yourself. How do I like it? What is the vibe like on site? And maybe spend 1, 2, or 3 months on the island. Maybe not in a hotel, but in an Airbnb. Just rent a villa or an apartment. Rent it for 1 or 2 months and then see what daily life is like. And what I also find great and what I've really gotten used to are the services. You can get a cleaning lady for 7 euros per hour. You can get a hand car wash for 10 euros. Flat rate inside and out, or 12 sometimes. And if something breaks, you can get a handyman within a day, 2 days at most, on hand. If you need a doctor for a routine checkup or whatever, doctor's appointments are usually available on very short notice as well. Another important point, which I haven't even mentioned yet, is the healthcare system. Depending on your age, it already plays a significant role. Many doctors, most doctors have studied and practiced abroad, so they also bring that know-how with them. From Germany or the UK or Austria, because they completed their studies abroad and often even speak German. There are also a lot of German doctors on the island. So that's available too. You don't wait months for a specialist appointment, but rather a week, maybe 2. There are exceptions, of course. Some doctors have a longer waiting list, but as a rule, you can actually get an appointment within 1 to 2 weeks. So these are all things where I think it's just a very, very pleasant lifestyle and a very, very easy way to emigrate. There really are countries where you have to adapt a lot, whether it's the language, culture, mentality, legal system, safety, and so on, where you face a lot of problems and obstacles put in your way, and where maybe one or another attempt at emigrating ends up failing. And that's why I think this trial emigration or this test living for 1 or 2 months is the perfect way to really feel whether it fits, or maybe it doesn't, of course. And if it does fit, then of course you can go ahead and make it happen. And then we're also very, very happy to help with all tax and legal matters related to immigration. As I said, we do this 3, 4, 5 times a week, so we have a lot of experience in this area. But of course, also when it comes to the non-dom status, and again here, Cyprus works. You have a European country you're dealing with. That means you'll reach your goal. You don't have any corruption in the authorities, so you don't have to bribe anyone or anything like that. We don't encounter that at all in Cyprus. It may happen in individual cases, but we haven't experienced it, honestly, which I find very pleasant. Not like maybe in Greece or so, not to speak badly of Greece, but there, such things are probably still more common. And you also have the British legal system, which of course makes the whole thing even more interesting. You also have a Cypriot limited, just like, or at least comparable to England and other common law jurisdictions. So I think this combination is really quite unique, very special, and makes it really easy. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, I'd be happy if you give me a thumbs up for the video if you liked it even a little. Feel free to give me your feedback, share your experiences as well. Maybe you're currently thinking about emigrating to Cyprus, or you're already in Cyprus and you'd confirm what I said, or maybe you have a completely different perspective. If you've had different experiences or anything like that, just let me know in the comments. I'm also open to feedback, including criticism, of course. Yes, there are always different perspectives, different opinions. And if you'd like us to support you with your plans to emigrate, whether to Cyprus or to another jurisdiction, then feel free to book a free, no obligation initial consultation. You'll find a link below the video where you can sign up, and then we can very soon discuss your personal setup and see whether Cyprus might be the right location and whether we might be able to support you as well. So thank you very much. I wish you all the best with your plans to emigrate, and thank you. See you very, very soon. Yours, Florian Wilk.